he can't see BJP getting more than 50 seats in UP, and in Bihar, he actually is pretty confident that there is no way that BJP will get 17 of the seats that he did. So overall, he feels that BJP is going to lose about 50 seats in the north, most of it. So from 303, they will come down to 253 best. Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about the battle of narratives that is going on in India. India is going through its Lok Sabha elections, the elections for the parliament's lower house with 542 seats with over 960 million potential voters. But it's a prolonged election. It's been going on since April 19th, and the results will be out only on June 4th. It is rather unusual. It's in 7 phases. So, and not only, it's very peculiar in the sense that there is no data available on exit polling, even though 80% of the country has already voted, partly because exit polls would then have impact on subsequent phases of elections. There are still 2 more phases of elections to go. But there's a lot of airtime, so many weeks, so lots of people are talking constantly on YouTube channels, on television, in the newspapers. And so there are lots of narratives out there as to what is happening, prognostications and predictions about the elections. But there are 2 very clear positions that have emerged, 2 grand narratives. One that is talking about the inevitability of Narendra Modi third term, and that BJP is going to win, not just going to win, but actually it's going to exceed its tally from 2019, in which it had 303 seats out of the 542 in the Lok Sabha. And along with its partners, it had over 353 seats. And then there are those who are saying, no, there is a turn, there is a tide. Some people even talk about a wave against the BJP. Some people feel that there is some marginal changes taking place on the ground. And therefore, it's quite possible that BJP may not even hit the majority mark in the coming elections. So these are the 2 narratives which are quite dominant. One is quite represented by this so-called India's contemporary Karl Rove, you could say, the political genius Prashant Kishor, who is predicting that BJP will get 303 or more. So basically he's saying that BJP will repeat its performance as it did in 2019, or it might even get more seats. And we will look at his logic and argument. And then there is, on the other hand, Yogendra Yadav, who says that it's unlikely that BJP will even hit the target of 250. He's more or less sure that BJP and its allies, the NDA, may not even get a majority of 272 seats.
अपने 35 साल के तजुर्बे के आधार पे मैं पक्के तौर पे कहने को तैयार हूं कि बीजेपी की 272 सीट कतई नहीं आ रही। बीजेपी को कम से कम 50 सीट का नुकसान मुझे तो दिखाई दे रहा है। आमतौर पे मैंने देखा है प्रशांत किशोर भी अपने राजनीतिक रुझान को अलग रख के, अपनी प्रेफरेंसेस को अलग रख के मूल्यांकन करने की कोशिश करते। और मैंने ये देखा कि उन्होंने भी कहा कि देखिए मोदी जी की छवि में डेंट लगा है। वो कह रहे हैं राम मंदिर उस तरह का इशू नहीं, वो कह रहे हैं उस तरह, और बीजेपी के अगेंस्ट एक तरह का एंटी इनकम्बेंसी है, लेकिन बीजेपी की सीट 303 से बढ़ेगी। ये बात तर्कसंगत नहीं लगती, लेकिन वो इसका तर्क देते।
So we will examine these 2 discourses, but before that, subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with the rest of your people. So there are 2 things that we need to look at. We will look at what these 2 gentlemen are saying, and then we will also look at the so-called swing states of this election. Unlike the United States, where we know more or less which are the swing states which will determine the elections, they're called the purple states, which are very critical: Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nebraska, Florida. These are critical states, including Ohio. But which are the swing states, the battleground states in India? So the 6 states that have been identified as critical for this particular elections. Scenarios change in India from election to election, so there are new swing states in every major Lok Sabha elections, obviously every Lok Sabha elections. This time they have identified Maharashtra, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, West Bengal, and Haryana. So basically, west, north, and eastern part of India. And apparently there seems to be no perception that there is going to be any battleground in the south. So let me begin by arguing the position that Prashant Kishor is, I think, of engineering background, and then he studied health, public health, and then he worked with the United Nations for a few years. And then he was kind of discovered by Narendra Modi, and then he went on to become the brain behind Narendra Modi's victory in 2050, BJP's achievement of a massive majority in the 2014 elections. And now, after working with several other parties, including the Congress, he has decided that he's going to dedicate the next 10 years of his life to bringing about fundamental change in Bihar. And so for the last 2 years, he's been more devoted in basically grassroots activism in Bihar. And even though he continues to enjoy a lot of media attention as an expert who understands politics and as a genius when it comes to political strategy, his method is very data-driven. It's very clear that basically he's very smart, a very intelligent person, and he has the capacity to absorb data like a sponge, and he remembers data. So when he is providing analytical commentary, you can see that it is very strongly influenced by macro data, past elections, whatever data is available. So in that sense, his claims do come across as very rational and very justifiable. And so he looks less ideological and more analytical. Yogendra Yadav, who was actually a political science professor before he became a politician and an activist, his methodology is slightly different, or quite different, in the sense that Prashant Kishor is looking top down, is looking at macro data, national level data, historical data. Whereas Yogendra Yadav, essentially in this particular election cycle, he has been commentating quite profusely. He's nearly on every YouTube channel, every television channel for the past few weeks. He has traveled the country, and he claims that he has traveled 1,000 kilometers in just UP alone. And so he's gone village to village with his team and friends, and they have spoken to the common man. And so his analysis and his perception and his intuition about the elections and what is going to happen and how people are going to vote are basically informed by his direct contact with potential voters and the undercurrents that he has been able to sense from his conversations with people on the ground. He used to be a psephologist, so he's not against data, but he himself recognizes that his current narrative in the current election cycle is not necessarily driven by data, because there is no exit polling out there. And many of the questions that we are trying to answer, we do not have the data for that. So, for example, one of the most critical questions was the decline in voter turnout in the first two phases. So there was a dip of 4 to 5%. Fewer voters are coming out to vote. Some attributed that to temperature. Some attributed that to complacency. Some said that this indicates that there is very little enthusiasm for Narendra Modi and BJP. And so this is going to translate into a kind of a wave of 3 to 5% to the opposition, especially the Congress, thanks to Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo and his north, south, east, west voyages or yatras in India. But because there is no exit polling data yet available, we will, I guess, get most of the exit polling data on June 1st. People are not really able to decisively say who has benefited from the decline in voter turnout. But there was a change and a significant shift in campaign strategy with Prime Minister Modi, who, after discovering that there has been no voter turnout, went on to unleash basically on Muslims. He converted the whole elections not as a referendum on the achievements of the Modi government in the last 10 years, not all this great narrative about India rising, India becoming the 5th largest economy in the world, India sending a rocket to the moon, India trying to reach for the sun, and making India all of these achievements in the economic sphere, in the geopolitical sphere, India hosting the G20, the world looking up to Modi as a very popular leader. All of that was put aside, and Modi returned to his instinctive battleground of Hindu Muslims, so just unleashed on Muslims, called Muslims as Ghuspetia, infiltrators who have entered this country and did not make the distinction that he's talking to those who came from Bangladesh or Myanmar, but just treated all Muslims without any caveats as basically Ghuspedias. He talked about and tried to create this fear that if Congress comes to power, it will take away reservations from the backward classes and scheduled class and give it to Muslims. If Congress comes to power, it'll take away Mangal Sutras and jewelry from Hindu women and give it to Muslims. If Congress comes to power, I guess, I don't know what, they will give the whole country to Muslims. So this kind of fear-mongering is what Modi has always done, and so he has resorted to that. So we don't have data to interpret this, so we have narratives. Prashant, for example, Prashant Kishor says that it is not the fear that the BJP is going to suffer from the decline in voter turnout, which has made Modi turn towards Hindu-Muslim rhetoric. And basically, it contradicts Modi's claim, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. Is clearly targeting Muslims. So how can he be working for their well-being? How can he be hoping to gain their trust? And clearly he doesn't care about their development. So Prashant Kishor says that there are 4 elements that drive the success of Bharatiya Janata Party. One is Hindutva. So this advocacy for Hinduism, the Hindu first policy, is Ram Mandir, destroying mosques and building new temples, promising to revive the glory of Hindu nation state or whatever. So basically this Hindu first policies, which an important part of it is being anti-Muslim. So you can't be pro-Hindu without being anti-Muslims in the past, targeting the Mughal Empire, and screaming at Muslims, and all these conspiracy theories about Muslims, vote jihad and stuff like that, love jihad, etc. All these conspiracy theories are part of the Hindutva. So one element of BJP's party is Hindutva. So they do rely in every elections on generating hatred towards Muslims and then cashing in on that hatred at the polling stations. So he says that is a standard part of BJP. The second thing that he says is nationalism. So this hyper-nationalism that you perceive every time somebody says anything negative about India. If you remember the Israeli judge when he made some comments about some pro-Hindutva movies, how people reacted, and then you saw how the social media reacted to Maldives. This kind of extremely hyper-nationalistic sentiment is also something that benefits BJP and Modi. Then welfareism, the Labh Bharti programs, feeding 80 crore hungry people and giving them other benefits such as free housing, etc. And then the final 4th element of their success, he argues, is the money that they have raised through electoral bonds and otherwise, and their capacity to organize better than the opposition.
An analyst who's been watching and listening to what's been happening over the last 6 weeks, is the real appeal of the BJP, is it the communal touch that Mr. Modi has brought, or is it instead free rations and welfareism? What is the real deal?
No, it's a combination. It's not only one or other. I have said this in many interviews, probably to you as well in the past. It is Hindutva, nationalism, welfareism, and then the electoral and financial muscle they have built over a period of time. Put together, these four are a very formidable combination to have as far as any political party
Is the communal
concerned.
appeal adding to the Modi?
See, these are like steroids. You do it to maybe charge your own diehard supporters. These statements will not give you incremental vote. What it probably does is it just energizes, creates a bit more.
This is very interesting. In earlier interviews, you've said the Ram Mandir will not bring an incremental vote.
Absolutely.
Now you're saying the communal appeal, the demonizing of Muslims, also won't bring an incremental vote.
No, not at all. And it is not said with the idea of getting incremental
It's
vote.
only said to charge up his own supporters.
Yes.
Because he felt that they were flagging.
They were not flagging, they were complacent maybe. They thought that 400
So Prashant Kishor argues that this sudden spurt in anti-Muslim rhetoric coming from the Prime Minister himself and the rest of the BJP leaders is nothing new. He claims that this is how BJP has won elections, except in 2014. In every other election, both in Gujarat as well as nationally, Modi has used Hindu-Muslim division as a way of generating votes, such as using Pulwama, etc. in 2019. He does make very interesting observations, though. He says the enthusiasm for Modi has declined. And he also says that while people are not very happy with Modi, Modi's personal charisma has declined. He says, look at all the YouTube videos where in the past when Modi would be on them, there would be millions and millions of viewership, but now everything has declined. Even the TRP ratings on television have declined. The people who turn out to Modi's rallies are much lesser in size than they were in the past. So clearly there is a decline in enthusiasm for Modi himself, especially in an election where Modi's guarantee is the key theme for Bharatiya Janata Party, and says, but people have no choice. I mean, they know that Modi has not delivered, especially when it comes to rural economy, for jobs, on things that matter to ordinary people. Inflation is very high. There are very few jobs, even for educated people. There is one interesting point that Prashant Kishor makes in his narrative. He says that the popularity and enthusiasm for Modi has declined, and he points to basically look at the TRP ratings that he's not unable to generate. If you look at the views on his shows, they have declined significantly, and the attendance at his rallies has also declined. He says, however, people are still voting for him, partly because of the Hindutva commitment, but also because he feels that there is no real alternative. I mean, there is a very hidden, not so well hidden anti-Congress element to Prashant Kishor's narrative. Very clearly, he's either unhappy with the leadership of Congress or does not like the party at all. So basically, he says that there is no perception that there is nobody other than Modi out there. So Modi is. So even though people are not very enthusiastic about Modi, they are willing to give him another chance. But he also makes several interesting points. One is that Ram Mandir is not a big issue anymore. So building the Ram Mandir is not going to get any new voters. And this anti-Muslim rhetoric is also not going to get him any additional voters. What it really is doing, he says, is that while Ram Mandir is not even exciting the population, what anti-Muslim rhetoric from the Prime Minister has done is motivated those who are already committed to Hindutva to come out and vote. So it is an attempt to, he uses the word steroids, to put some steroids into the enthusiasm of the already pro-Modi, pro-BJP, pro-Hindutva crowd. And basically, it's a tool to get the vote out. So people are going out to vote, not because of the achievements of Narendra Modi over the 10 years or the promises and guarantees he's giving, because they're going out to vote for him because he has rejuvenated anti-Muslim hatred in these people. So they're going out and vote. That is what he's trying to make out. So basically, what he's trying to say is that if the opposition party was able to come up with a better organization and had probably better promises or more credible leadership, then they might have been able to cash in on this decline in enthusiasm for Modi. But unfortunately, that is not happening. Yogendra Yadav, on the other hand, has an entirely different narrative. He gives great importance to the fact that he has personally traveled nearly all over the country, or he has spoken to reporters who are traveling and talking to people, especially like he hasn't been to Kerala, he doesn't speak the language. But in the north, he has traveled extensively, especially in the Hindi and the /Hindutva belt. He has walked about 1,000 kilometers. I guess he traveled 1,000 kilometers in UP alone. And he makes a few interesting observations. He clearly says that there is a slight and subtle anti-incumbency in some states. So, for example, he says the popularity of Modi has not declined as much as, say, some Prashant Kishor is saying. But what Yogendra Yadav is saying is that there's no enthusiasm for the local MPs. So while if you are a BJP voter, say in Raebareli, or somewhere else, you are happy about Modi and the prestige he's brought to India and everything he's doing, and you might even like him, but you don't like the local BJP MP. So if you are convinced that BJP is going to win anyway, and Modi is going to get 400 seats, then you may not want to vote, or you may not even come out to vote for your local MP who is basically a loser, who does not care about his constituency, who's not done anything to improve their lives. So that's one trend that he has identified at the ground level, that while there is still enthusiasm for Modi, there is very little enthusiasm for other members of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So while they do want Modi to win, they're not too excited about their local leader. The second thing is that unemployment, high cost of basic necessities are having a huge impact, especially on the rural side, among villages, among young people who are educated with no jobs. And they are also aware that while the Modi government is good for some people, it is not necessarily good for all of them. So there is also not much excitement for the policies that he sees. So he does see an anti-BJP incumbency as sort of a subtle theme. So it's a bit complicated. So they don't like the rest of the party, but they like Modi. And so he translates this into a very interesting analysis that even if, especially in the north and the western part of the country, he feels that BJP is going to lose some ground, and he's very confident, especially in the state of Haryana. He feels that the allies will not be able to perform as well because, unlike BJP's loser candidates, who might still win because people are going to vote not for them but for Modi, the others may not have that incentive. So why would you vote for a party which is not Modi's party? So while Prashant Kishor is predicting that BJP will retain its 303 or might even get a bit more than 303, so there's no doubt that there will be a third government, a third term for Prime Minister Modi and BJP. Yogendra Yadav is very clear that in the north, BJP is going to lose at least 50 seats, and is as a total, the Bharatiya Janata Party, according to his calculation, will not reach even 250 seats. And he's not predicting much on NDA, so it is quite possible that with 230 to 25 BJP seats, maybe 20, 25 NDA seats, and then shenanigans, which are very common in Indian politics. You can buy their souls. Most of them are for sale. At least the opposition politicians are easy to buy. And so it's quite possible that Modi might put together a government based on BJP, NDA, and people who will switch parties after the results are announced. So in that sense, yes, you might have a third term. But the point is very clear that both Yadav as well as Prashant Kishor say, even if Modi comes to power, he's not going to be as powerful and as popular as he was in his second term. So it is very interesting that Prashant Kishor gives this example. It's like he takes example of Virat Kohli and say, look, Virat Kohli might make 102, which is flawless. And then he could make 140, which has 5 or 6 drop catches. So while 140 is a better performance, it's not exactly a great innings because he got there because 5 or 6 catches were dropped. And so he says the second term of Modi, the third term of Modi will be like that. He might get more seats than 303 for BJP, and so he might perform, but he's not going to be as popular and will not have as much enthusiastic support from the public. He keeps making the point that it's not the opposition parties who are going to oppose Modi, it's the public who's going to oppose him. It's kind of counterintuitive because if it's the same public which is going to give him such a strong mandate of more than 303 seats, then why would they be opposing him? Why would they elect him? Because there's no alternative, apparently. So there is some holes in Prashant Kishor's narrative, and he has no explanation as to what the absence of voter turnout in the first 2 rounds of the elections really means, because he says there is no data, and he's correct about that, but he's not willing to speculate. He says if at all, it might even impact the opposition party. Yogendra Yadav, on the other hand, seems to be very confident that Modi's image has been dented, BJP has been exposed, and the power of the Ram Mandir and anti-Muslim sentiment is not as powerful enough, and so BJP is not going to win the third term, at least straight up, and they're not going to get 272 right away. So let's take a look at the map and the so-called let me put it up 1 second. The so-called swing states. So if you look at this map that I'm showing you right now is a map of BJP's victories in 2019. So the darker orange it is, the clear victory. So if you look at some of the states there, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. So if you look at Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Haryana, it's nearly 100%. So 10 out of 10, 24 out of 25, 26 out of 26, 28 out of 29. So in this seats, they have what? Out of about 85 seats, they have about 80 to 85 seats, they have lost only 2 seats. So they clean swept this, and they did reasonably well or spectacularly well in UP, getting 62 out of 80 seats in UP. So this is the heart of Hindu nationalism. And then you can see Chhattisgarh also. And the place where they are weak is Bihar, where they got 17 out of 40, Bengal, where they got 18 out of 42, so less than 50% in both the states. And then in Orissa, they got 8 out of 21, which is also less than 50%. They got less than 25% in Telangana, 0 in Andhra Pradesh, 0 in Tamil Nadu, 0 in Kerala. And they did, again, extraordinarily well in Karnataka. So the predictions that Prashant Kishor is not going state-wise. He does not speculate on how many seats BJP might win or lose in its states. But Yogendra Yadav, on the other hand, does make predictions. He feels that BJP will, in the south, may gain some seats in Telangana, will go to perhaps 6, may win some more seats in Andhra. But if they even get 10 seat worth of gain in these two states, the Telugu-speaking states, he is pretty confident that this time the Congress will do much better in Karnataka. So basically, BJP will lose in Karnataka what it might gain in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. He speculates that they may win 1 seat or 2 seats in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So basically what is going to happen is 1 or 2 seats gained for BJP in the south, and they might do slightly better in Orissa. And he does not see the gains that everyone else seems to think that BJP will make in Bengal. So if you take Bengal, Orissa, and the south, his contention is that BJP may either lose 1 or 2 seats overall. So from 50, it will go to around 45, 48, or may gain maybe 1 or 2. So no significant change in the south and east. But when he looks at Maharashtra, he's very confident, even though BJP and its allies, BJP got 23 out of 48, but NDA got about 41 seats in Maharashtra. So he feels that BJP will lose a few seats, and so they are not definitely getting 40 plus from Maharashtra. They may get 25 overall, both BJP and NDA. So it's quite possible they will lose 10 or plus seats in Maharashtra. Gujarat, they feel that Modi is not going to get 26 out of 26. I don't know what the argument is. Maybe Aam Aadmi Party might get a few seats in Gujarat. Madhya Pradesh, they feel that there is a lot of anger in Madhya Pradesh and anti-incumbency. So it will be very tough for BJP to replicate that. Rajasthan is in play. Nearly every seat in Rajasthan is being contested heavily. So he feels that, like in Haryana, for example, he feels that there is clearly a wave in favor of Karnataka Congress, and so Congress might even get 6 seats in there. And in Uttar Pradesh, which is the key, he feels that while Adityanath Yogi is quite popular there, this time there is going to be more contestation. So he can't see BJP getting more than 50 seats in UP, and in Bihar, he actually is pretty confident that there is no way that BJP will get 17 of the seats that he did. So overall, he feels that BJP is going to lose about 50 seats in the north, most of it. So from 303, they will come down to 253 best. He does perceive that it could be even more than that. So he does not see BJP getting 303, but like his prediction is 250 max. And yes, they may form a government and get to 272 with allies. But he's very clear that the mandate of 400 is Abki Baar, 400 Par, all of that he completely dismisses. So this is a very interesting narratives that we are listening to from both sides. And I'm not very sure. I do like the analytical arguments that Prashant Kishor makes. But while he talks about data, the assertions that he's making, and his claim is that BJP is going to gain significant. He keeps saying that the BJP will make gains in the south because in Karnataka, voters vote differently for the MLA elections and MP elections. And so he is very confident that BJP will perform very well in Karnataka. And then he feels that they're going to do well in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, even Tamil Nadu and Orissa. So he feels that BJP is going to increase their tally, both vote share as well as seat share in the south and east. Bengal also, he's very confident that BJP is going to do well. And he does not see BJP losing any seats in the north or the west. So basically, BJP is going to hold on to what it has achieved in the north and the west in the previous election and make some gains in the south. That is why he's very confident that BJP will get to 300 or even more. He will not be surprised if they get to 310. And so that is his predictions. I have no bone to pick between the two debates. I'm not clearly in the ground. I'm thousands of miles away from the voters. And I have not been talking to any voters. All I listen to is journalists and experts opining away. Most of the discourse that you see and analysis is actually campaigning. So I clearly see that there are pro-BJP YouTube channels and anti-BJP or pro-Congress YouTube channels. And so the analysts who are talking are mostly also campaigning or at least boosting the morale of their supporters and are perhaps contributing to voter turnout. I hope that there are good exit polling taking place, so we will get some answers on June 1st. I mean, we will get the results on June 4th, but one of the advantages of having good exit polls is not only do you can put the results, election results, in context and understand why voters have voted the way they did. Even for the losing parties, it is a very good source of data and information so that they can improve their strategies for the next round. And for the winners, it tells them that what is it that they are doing right and what is it that they are doing wrong. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to the data on June 1st about exit polls that will come out. And until then, please, if there are elections, you are part of the next two phases, then don't forget to vote. I was very disappointed with the voter turnout in Hyderabad. Apparently, it was less than 40%. It is quite disappointing. And let me tell you, in a democracy is as good as its citizens' engagement. The more knowledgeable, the more informed, and more engaged citizens you have, the better the democracy is. And if you don't show up, if you don't vote, if you don't inform yourself, if you do not engage, then you should not complain also with the outcomes. Because if you have a stake in the outcomes, then you should participate in the process. So I was very disappointed to see that in the Hyderabad constituency, my former hometown, which I did visit in January, the voter turnout was so low. So anyway, I hope you found this discussion interesting and informative for those of you who are not following the election discussions and debates closely. So don't forget to subscribe to Khanversations, like the video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share it with your social political network after you watch it. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar. Take care.